So today's video is all about how I got my baby, now toddler, to sleep 12 hours throughout the night. I know this is like a dream for parents. It was once for me too, and it's crazy to think that she is such a good sleeper. When Sage was like 3 months, 4 months, even before 6 months, she was not a good sleeper. I honestly thought she just like disliked sleeping. She's always been a very alert baby. She's very high energy like her mama, and the whole sleep situation has definitely been a struggle, but I promise there is a solution. If you guys are struggling, I'm gonna be sharing all of my top tips that we do to get Sage to sleep 12 hours a night. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Nikole. If you're new here, hello, welcome to my corner of the internet. If you guys have not already, hit that subscribe button, click the button down below. It's free. I post here every single Wednesday and Friday, and you don't want to miss a future videos. I'm also going to have a full blog post with all of the tips and links to any products that I mentioned. I'll have that link down below in the info box, so definitely check that out. All right, for some background with Sage's sleep, we went through a hard sleep regression at the 4 months, almost a little bit earlier. It was like 3.5 months, and that is really where my sleep journey began with Sage. I started just realizing that, just letting her do her own thing wasn't working, and we actually created some really bad sleeping habits. She was waking up every 2 hours throughout the night. I wasn't getting sleep. I was miserable. I was so tired. Sage was just like grumpier, not her happy self that she is now, and we've really come a long way. Being able to support her sleep journey, but also helping to teach her how to fall asleep and stay asleep, and then even put herself back to sleep if she woke up, was huge. And currently, we actually just did the transition from 2 naps to 1 nap a day. And it was actually quite easy because I feel like I put all that foundational work in beforehand, that making little tweaks and stuff to her nap time routine is fairly easy. That being said, I do have some things that we do every single day, every single night, to help support a good 12 hours sleep at night. And yes, it's not perfect. Sometimes she'll wake up at 6 in the morning or randomly like at midnight. But really, for the most part, I would say 99% of the time, she goes to bed at like 6:30, between 6:30 and 7:30, and then sleeps until 7:30 without fail, which is like the best thing ever. And I want to share our little tips and tricks with you guys. So the first one is awake to sleep. This was a big one that I didn't realize I was doing. I don't want to say wrong. It didn't work for us. I know some parents do it and their babies sleep great. That is awesome. Like if you can just do your thing and your babies just sleep regardless, like that's the goal. But for us, anytime we would put Sage asleep in her bassinet or her bed when she was already asleep, whether in our arms or asleep breastfeeding, she would then wake up a couple hours later startled. And that was something that made the biggest difference for us. So I would actually, like, especially when she was little and she'd fall asleep on the boob, I would actually just like, maybe wipe her face a little bit, just gently wake her up, and then put her in her bassinet and she would fall back asleep. And I know it just seems so scary to wake up a newborn or just, really any age. You're like, why would I wake up my baby? But that was a big thing that got us to help her sleep longer periods throughout the night. The idea is having them be able to know where they are before they fall asleep will help them if they wake up a couple hours later and they wake up and they recognize where they are. It's kind of like if you fell asleep in the bedroom and then woke up in the kitchen, you're like, where am I? And you get startled, and then that's when the crying starts, and that's when they're full on woken up. But when I put Sage to sleep awake, when she does wake up throughout the night, she already knows where she is, so it's a little bit easier for her to put herself back to sleep. Stick to a routine. So bedtime is the same time for us every single day. Yes, life happens. If we are out for dinner with friends, we are traveling, we are, I don't know, like maybe she had her last nap too late or something. Obviously there's just changes that happen in life and you just kind of have to roll with the punches. But for the most part, Sage goes to bed around 6:30, 7:30. It's really that hour window for us, because if she had a little bit of a shorter nap during the day, for sure 6:30, she's going to be tired. If she, just has a lot of energy, or maybe we got home a little bit late and she's having dinner a little bit late, then she'll go more towards that 7:30 mark. So we're not like super strict by the 6:30 unless we know she's overtired, then like right away she's going to bed. But it's within that hour, and honestly that flexibility there has worked with us, and it still sticks to, you know, a pretty good schedule. Find the sweet spot. You don't want an overtired baby or undertired baby. It's gonna be so much harder to get them to go to sleep. And you'll start to kind of see their signs of, you know, if they're not tired yet or they're overtired. When Sage is overtired, it is 10 times harder to get her to sleep. So I really just try to monitor her and figure out what that sweet spot is for putting her down for naps and a final bedtime. So that's where we created that 6:30 bedtime, is because we always found that if we went later, she just seemed to get really grumpy. And even if we put her to bed later, it doesn't mean she would sleep in longer in the morning. If anything, when we put her to bed past 6:30, she actually ends up waking up closer to the 7 a.m. mark in the morning, as opposed to if she goes to bed down at 6:30, she usually has like a much better stretch of sleep and wakes up happier. So it's just like this weird thing. You think that the later you put them to sleep, the later they'll wake up, but that isn't the case with every baby, and it definitely wasn't the case with Sage. So even though we weren't really like early risers before Sage, just putting her down at 6:30 meant she got that full 12-hour stretch, and she just was more well rested. So it's really all about finding that sweet spot where, you know, they're not overtired, they're not undertired, and you can usually figure this out within a couple of days or a couple of weeks, and just kind of do some like trial and error and just see what time seems to be the best time for your little one, because it's different for everybody. And like I said, with Sage, 6:30 p.m. Has been the perfect time for us. Adjust daytime naps. So your baby can sleep too much during the day, and when that happens, it will affect their nighttime sleep. So, you know, yes, it's great if your little one has a 4-hour nap during the day, and maybe like once in a while they need it. Maybe they are teething, or they're just having a growth spurt and they're just so tired, or maybe they're not feeling well, they're under the weather. And there's some times that I do let Sage sleep a little bit longer if I feel like she needed it that day, but for the most part, I will cap naps because I know it's gonna affect her nighttime nap, and she's not gonna sleep as well. She's gonna wake up early or have a harder time going to bed because she's just under tired. So just be mindful of that. I know there's that whole saying, you know, don't wake up a sleeping baby. I do not believe that, because we have had to wake up Sage many times just to keep her to a certain schedule with her sleep. And, you know, it's nice to let them sleep and create their own schedule, but I find when that happens, it sometimes will interfere with like a second nap, or they may not nap at all because they got all their sleep in the first nap, and then they're like way too tired by the time bedtime comes. So, you know, like I said, some kids will go to bed like wherever, anytime, and that is great. Like my nieces and nephew are like that. And I'm like, I don't know. I thought that's how it was gonna be with Sage. And then when it didn't happen, I was just like, my kid doesn't like sleeping. What's going on? Am I not doing something right? And I really just think, you know, just small tweaks throughout the day with naps and stuff can make such a big difference. And then also really being mindful of that last nap of the day, that it's not too close to bedtime. So you have a nice wake window where they can have dinner still, play and burn off some energy, and actually get tired for when it comes down to bedtime. This is my biggest one, and it is to create the environment. I truly believe in a calming atmosphere is gonna help your little ones wind down and get a good night's rest. So just think about yourself. If you are watching TV right before bed and there's all these lights on and sounds on, and maybe you're eating right before bed and there's just a lot of stimulation happening, you are not gonna have that good of a sleep at night. So same thing with your little ones, you know, start calming down the house, lower the lights, you know, soft sounds, maybe reduce screen time, and just create that sleepy atmosphere. Even if by the time they go to bed, you put the lights all back on, at least they can start winding down. The other things I think are really important is creating the environment in their room. So Sage has a few key components to her bedtime routine that, you know, are good because we can replicate them anywhere we go. If we're at grandma's house, you know, we've been traveling in Florida the last few months, and we can replicate these. So it's not like, she can only sleep if we're at home and we have all of these things. These things are easy to travel, which is great. So you want to create a bedtime routine that is flexible for sure. So for us, we have obviously her bed. She's been sleeping in a pack and play the last few months, and you know, it's great, but I do find Sage sleeps the best like in her own room as opposed to a shared room. And, you know, we used to do the shared room, and then when we transitioned her to her own room, she slept so much better. The other thing is a like completely blackout room. She can have naps and sleep with, you know, a little bit of light in, but I find if it's a complete blackout room, she doesn't wake up with the sunrise and wake up at like 6 in the morning. So I like to do blackout curtains, or I'll even, if we're traveling, put garbage bags on the windows to get it really pitch black. And then a sound machine, you know, you can get so many different kinds. I'll link my favorites in the blog post down below. I have two, one for travel that is just one you charge and you don't need to plug it in. And then another one that is a plug-in one that we use in her bedroom like every single night. So it's great because the travel one we can take on the go with us if we're in the car, or we're like in the stroller and we just need something just to help remind her that, oh, it's sleep time now. That's really helpful. Her sleep sack, which is basically like a little sleeping bag blanket, and it's super cozy and it just gives her like some warmth and comfort, but you don't have to worry about, you know, blankets going over their heads or anything. Also PJs, make sure they're a nice comfortable PJs, nothing with like an elastic band that's digging in. So she has pajamas that are specifically for sleeping at night, and I will link my favorites in the blog post down below as well. But I think it's really important for little ones to have daytime clothes and nighttime clothes, just to help differentiate the two from each other. I like PJs for her that are super buttery and soft and stretchy and breathable, so she's not gonna get super hot at night, and nothing that's like scratchy or just like too stiff. And then most recently we've been introducing a stuffy, so we just let her bring in one teddy bear. She has a teddy bear and a dragon that she'll sometimes alternate between the two. She was getting some night terrors for a little bit. I do feel like they've reduced since we gave her the teddy, but I find the teddy is just nice to, something to cuddle with if she does wake up throughout the night and feels lonely. I do find her like kind of holding on to it while she's sleeping, and she really enjoys it. But obviously, you know, do what you're comfortable with. I know they say nothing in the crib under 1 year old. Obviously this is an optional one, and you know, if you don't feel like it's something right for your baby, I don't think you need to offer it by any means. But Sage has really benefited from having a little stuffy, a little teddy. She knows her teddy and she'll just carry him around with her. I will say though, make sure you have backup and you're able to replace that if that is now a part of your routine and you've lost Teddy. That's why we have two, and she kind of alternates between the two of them. But I do want to get a second one to have in the car, or just like to have on the go, and we don't have to, you know, make sure we're bringing the same one to each place. So all of these things together help create that cozy sleep environment for Sage. Read a book. So we started reading books with Sage like basically since she was born. Like I heard from everywhere, even like our family doctor would be like, are you reading to her? And so I know it seems like weird to read to a newborn when they're not following, they can barely see like 2 centimeters in front of them, but it's just creating that habit. And honestly, I've enjoyed reading to Sage every single night. So we started really young, and now Sage like really enjoys reading time. She loves books. She carries them around. She flips through them. I feel like it's just that time of the day where she can sit and focus on something that's not a moving screen. You know, it's not flashing lights and making sounds, and it's just like a nice time to sit and relax. It's also another bedtime cue. She knows it's time to rest and wind down. And also I do feel like it's a form of meditation for her. She gets like all daisy-eyed and she just is like calm, and she follows along and flips the pages and kind of babbles sometimes while I'm saying the words. And I want her to enjoy reading, and I feel like implementing books early on is a great way to get that as a habit. I have like a short, a medium, and a long length book that we go to. So I will link my favorites in the blog post as well, and just kind of tell you like the lengths of them, because you want one that's like, she's freaking out, she's not going to focus for 2 more seconds, so it's like at the end. Or maybe she's like still needs a little bit more time to wind down, you can read a little bit of a longer book. So usually we have variety more so for us, but we definitely have variety for the length of time that we think she's going to be able to sit and focus. Size up in your nighttime diapers. So we noticed a huge difference when we did this. She would wake up throughout the night because her diaper was soaked. So when we went up a size, it just allowed for more room for the diaper to hold that pee and not wake her up because she was getting that wet feeling. And you know, I talked to a lot of moms, and they would always be like, oh, I don't do diaper changes unless it's a poop throughout the night. And when I heard that, I'm like, oh, like I was doing, every time she would wake up, I was doing a diaper change. And it's also very startling for them too. So if you can just size up in the diaper and get them to go the full 12 hours without a diaper change, I think that helps a lot because they're not having to wake up throughout the night just because they feel wet. Don't skip dinner. So I think this last meal of the day is so important. Even if you get home later and you feel like you don't have enough time for like a full-on dinner before their bedtime, you know, just move their bedtime a little bit later, get in that last meal of the day so that they don't wake up hungry. I find with Sage, like there's some days we've gotten home at 7:30 and I think, oh my gosh, it's already way past her bedtime. Like she should be sleeping right now. And I think in my head, oh, maybe we'll just give her a snack and skip like a full meal. And then I always remind myself like, okay, no, like just have something easy that you can make. So usually I'll do like a no heat dinner, like some avocado, some fruit, you know, maybe some peanut butter on toast or something. It can still be a simple meal that's not like making pasta or heating up something big, but just something that is still going to be a complete meal, keep them full and satiated throughout the entire night. Because 12 hours is a long time for them to go. So you have to think about, you know, if they were just to have a snack before bedtime, they're probably going to be hungry in a few hours. Sing a lullaby. So when I was talking about creating that environment, I'll just walk you through the scenario when we put her to bed. We will change her, get her into her comfy PJs, put on her sleep sack. I will give her some milk and then we'll brush her teeth and then we'll do a story time and then go into her room, turn off the light, put the sound machine on, and then this is when I do a rock to sleep and lullaby. So she loves this. Matt doesn't sing a full-on lullaby. I asked him today and he's like, oh no, but I go like la 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 la. So pretty much the same thing. So the last thing we do before we put her down in her bed is I'll usually just sing something like, you know, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, You Are My Sunshine is like our song together. Something simple you could just hum. And I find when I do that, it's like the simplest thing. You think like, do you need to sing to your kid before they go to bed? But when I do this, she holds her teddy, she puts her thumb in her mouth and sucks on her hand a little bit. And you can tell like she knows that's like the final thing before she goes to bed. And like when I do it, I sing it's like a 30-second song. And like she is just like, it just gives her time instead of just being like, okay, there you go into bed. It's like an easy transition to the bed, crib, or whatever they're sleeping in. And I don't know, I think it really makes a big difference. I find if I do not do that, she has to go down calmly. There's sometimes I put her down and she's starting to like get fussy and I'll just do it again. And you know, you're making sure they're awake still, you put them down and then I leave the room immediately. I don't linger in the room too long. I leave the room, I close the door. I obviously say like, good night, Sage, give her a kiss and all that. I'll see you in the morning. And then I just leave. And even if she's like fussing a little bit, I leave the room, close the door, and within even if she is fussing, within like 30 seconds, she puts herself to sleep. That's usually if she's overtired and we missed that sweet spot. But that is essentially like our bedtime routine. And then last but not least, which I think is one of the most important things in this video, is to set those foundational skills. And for us, that was working with a baby sleep expert. We worked with Lily from Little Baby Sleep, and she changed the sleep game for us, actually. And at this point, we were going through the dreaded 4-month sleep regression, which kind of started at 3 months. And I was struggling for a good month and a half of Sage waking up every hour and a half to 2 hours. I just felt like I was going through some sleep deprivation torture. It was so much harder than the newborn phase, and I was really struggling. And working with Lily, understanding not only how to implement some good habits, but really understanding the baby sleep psychology side of things and understanding how long their sleep cycles are, why do they wake up, and just the deeper knowledge of that all really helped me understand as a parent what Sage was going through. But then also just working with her to create a routine and schedule that worked for us in our lifestyles. So one of the main things we implemented was a gentle sleep training, which I always just thought sleep training meant, the cry it out method. You close the door, you let them cry it out and figure it out themselves, which I didn't feel comfortable with that, especially as a new mom. Anytime Sage would cry, I would just feel so upset and I wanted to help her. And you really start to understand the different cries and what they mean, and being able to help sleep train her, but in a gentle way, and basically help support her and teach her not only to fall asleep, but stay asleep and then put herself back to sleep. So self-soothing was a big one, and that is why Sage sleeps so good. Like, she is such a good sleeper now because she'll wake up throughout the night still, but she is able to put herself back to bed. And those are the skills that I know will last her a lifetime, and I hope that she just has good sleep for the rest of her life. I like that Sage has an earlier bedtime because Matt and I can have dinner together and just relax at the end of the day, but that also means we're gonna have an earlier morning. I know some parents, you know, maybe one of the parents works late and they wanna be able to see their kid before they go to sleep, so they do a later bedtime, and then also maybe their kids sleep in a little bit later if they're not early risers. So you can really just kind of tweak things to fit your needs and lifestyle, which I love. I actually have a coupon code for $50 off on her Your Dream Plan. So I will link that down below. I definitely recommend just following her. Her Instagram account has so much free knowledge and tips, and you know, just little things like that I found out. For instance, a car nap, anything over, I think it's 10 minutes, it will replace a nap. Anything under 10 minutes, you're okay. And these are all things that I've learned just trial and error. I didn't even know. Even with things like navigating daylight savings, you know, following her, you'll get so many tips and tricks. So definitely check her out. So as I mentioned, Sage has officially transitioned from 2 naps to 1 nap a day, and it has gone so smoothly. And I really do feel like it's because of all the things we've done, the work we've done in the previous months of her life to bring us to this point. And she is now, like, she's sleeping right now, and she's having like good, juicy 3-hour naps a day, like 1 big nap a day. And I'm just like, so I'm like proud of us for like putting in the work, but also so proud of her because she is such a good sleeper right now, and I never thought this day would come. But I can officially say my 16, is she 17 months old yet? I can officially say my toddler is a good sleeper, and I hope some of these tips help you guys out. Maybe they're really simple and you already know them, or maybe it's just like a nice reminder, and maybe it's just that little support you need for implementing some good sleep habits throughout the day and throughout the night. So I wish you so much good sleep in the near future. If you are struggling right now, know good sleep is around the corner. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I love chatting and connecting with you guys, so please say hello. Also, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe. Hit that button down below. I post here every single Wednesday and Friday, and I will see you guys in my next one, and wishing you guys all a good, restful night. Okay, bye guys.